aspects, I guess, of what we call our excellences, which, when we're talking about the finished goods end of Loro Piana, we are very much a lifestyle brand. Okay, we have men's clothing, we have women's clothing, we have leather goods, we have things to satisfy most aspects of your life. Sergio Loro Piana used to say, we can outfit you for all of your life until about 6 o'clock at night, because it's sportswear. And if you're, I don't know, going to the Costume Institute gala at the Met and you need that beautiful evening gown, we can't help you. It's totally a sportswear day look. Okay, so within the men's and the women's labels, we have 7 actually, because there's been one more introduced since this video was made, but 7 what we call excellences. And we call these things our excellences because these are the things that we do from the very beginning, including the sourcing of the raw materials, to the very end, in the case of the retail network, of putting a finished garment into a client's hands. There's an incredible vertical integration about Loro Piana when it comes to these 7 materials. I think probably certainly one of the most important and probably the most charming is the story of the vicuna that you saw there in the video. I don't know, do you guys talk in microns when you talk about? Okay, you probably can do a better job of it than I can. My type of brain is the one that goes microns. I don't know, but vicuna is 12 or 13 microns, and I think the average human hair is, I don't know, between like 80 to 120, I think. So it's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 times finer than a human hair, and it really is the natural. It's the finest. I'm going to say it's the finest naturally occurring fiber, animal fiber, that's out there. Regular cashmere is more like 14 or 15 microns. So that 1 or 2 micron difference might not sound like a lot, but the beauty of it is you can touch it, you can feel it, and it really makes an immense difference. So the vicuna, it's a tragic story actually. There's a very green element to Loro Piana when it comes to things like vicuna or the lotus flower that you saw, because the vicuna, let me put it to you this way. The cashmere comes from goats, right, in China and Mongolia, and it gets combed. And I think you saw in the video, the goats, they like the touch. They're like licking the person's face as they're combing them. Vicuna, that's not the case. The vicuna are frantic animals that don't like to be touched. So in ancient times, the Incas worshipped the vicuna. They called it the fabric of the gods. It was reserved just for Incan royalty to be able to wear. When those nasty conquistadors came over and invaded South America, they too saw the value of the vicuna, but they didn't appreciate the vicuna the way the Incans did. They had a ceremony where essentially they form a very big circle that gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and they essentially herd all the vicuna in, and then they grab them and they shear them. The vicuna is sheared, but you shouldn't be harming the animal. The conquistadors didn't quite have the patience for that and really started poaching and killing, because it was a lot easier to take your bow and arrow and kill the animal and then get the fiber. And this went on for really several hundred years until in the 1950s, the vicuna population dropped to under 50,000 vicuna, if I remember right. Particularly in Peru. There's some vicuna in Argentina as well, but I'm talking about Peru. And Loro Piana began partnering with the Peruvian government in the mid-90s, and we've gotten the population back up to where, fortunately now it's not illegal to import vicuna into the United States. For many years it was, because it was on the endangered species list. So, it's a great story for Loro Piana. It's been a great way of saving a way of life for a number of people in the Andes, and really preserving a heritage that was very close to going away. The vicuna gets sheared once every 2 years. So it is a really rare. I told you our vision is to be the ultimate reference point, and our mission is to provide access to the finest and rarest. Well, this is the finest and one of the rarest. They get sheared once every 2 years, and in the end, it takes about 25 or 30 vicuna shearings to make an overcoat, as an example. 6 on average to make a sweater. So, this is a group of students, which scares me. Honestly, if I'm talking to a group of retailers, I spout things out of my mouth. Now I want to be sure, oh my gosh, am I saying the right thing? Your students, you're taking notes. We have a couple of samples on the screen, not here with me, of finished products. On the left is, that's called the Icer jacket. We make the Icer jacket both for men and for women. Very reflective of Loro Piana. That's vicuna in its natural color. That particular jacket was designed for the Italian ski team. It's meant to be a ski jacket. That Icer coat on the left is about $20,000. On the right is a cape that is baby cashmere and chinchilla, and we're going to talk about baby cashmere later on. And that cape is about $27,000. Our target, and we're going to get to the positioning of the brand here in a few minutes, is the very, very top of the heap. I want to quickly talk about cashmere and baby cashmere, because cashmere, really, in the end, Loro Piana was instrumental in bringing cashmere to the marketplace in the 1970s in particular. I don't know, all you guys are too young probably to realize this, but cashmere 20 years ago, 10 years ago even, was a much more special thing than it is now. I mean, now you can get a cashmere sweater at J. Crew, you can get a cashmere sweater at the Gap, I think now. I mean, you can really, cashmere is much more of a commodity than it used to be. Loro Piana reacted to that. And cashmere was something that we were known for, we still are known for. It was the primary fiber that we were selling and producing our finished goods with. But it's a great example of a brand that does something really well, that is always striving to do it better. Because Pierluigi Loro Piana believed, just from his gut, that look, if we take the first combing of the Herkus goat, and cashmere comes from the Herkus goat, the best cashmere comes from China and Mongolia, and it happens once a year in the spring, April-ish, May, depending on the weather conditions. But he worked really hard to convince these primarily itinerant goat herders in China and Mongolia, and you saw some of that in the video, to separate the combings of the youngest kid goats, like the first combing. And it too made a 1 micron difference between regular cashmere and baby cashmere. We are the only company that has the wherewithal to do it and the relationships to do it, so baby cashmere is exclusive to Loro Piana. It's been our way of taking cashmere up a notch. And I don't know, Kathy, in your store in Boston, I don't know, the percentage of things that are regular cashmere, for lack of a better word, in your store is probably 10%-ish, whereas 90% now is baby cashmere. For the Loro Piana luxury goods division, we still sell a heck of a lot of cashmere to J. Crew, to Brooks Brothers, to Neiman's Private Label, to Hermes, to Donna Karan, to all sorts of people to use to make their own clothing. Another couple of examples of some of our cashmere clothing. Those happen to be a couple of men's pieces. And if we talk about wools, you know, historically, and it's still true today, the best wools have come from the merino sheep in Australia and New Zealand, and this is really the guts of where Loro Piana started. And still a huge part of our fabric sales division. Not such a huge part of our luxury goods finish division, except in the case of doing custom tailored bespoke men's clothing, which is a sizable part of our business in certain locations. So vicuna, cashmere, baby cashmere, the fine merino wools, all of these things are things that we're involved with, from the sourcing of the raw materials to spinning it into thread, to weaving it into fabric, to turning it into a finished goods. Pecorino Nera is another charming story that, I don't know, the sheep, you know, I think everybody's family has a black sheep. That's the common jargon, right? Sheep originally actually were black. Did you know that?
All sheep?
Yeah. Or black was the dominant color. Over the course of time, they were bred to be white, but you still have that black one popping up occasionally. But why were they bred to be white or to be lighter? Yeah.
Easier to dye.
Exactly. Exactly. So Loro Piana found this woman in New Zealand who was trying to revert back to the original coloration of the sheep, which he did very successfully. It's called Pecorino Nera, black sheep in Italian. It's one rancher in New Zealand that's doing it. There's a very limited supply. In fact, it's been probably 3 seasons that we have not produced anything with Pecorino Nera because we're waiting to get a little more of a supply of Pecorino Nera to be able to do it. That's the problem that Loro Piana has encountered over building all of these stores, for example. Vicuna is very precious and very rare. There simply is not enough to stock it in every Loro Piana store. I said there are 150 some odd in the world now. There are 22 in the US. And we have it, Vicuna, currently in 6 stores, I think. Just because, again, there's not enough of a supply to do it. You saw the lotus flower there that comes from Myanmar that is an amazing plant-based fabric, the lotus flower stems. Incredibly rare, has to be processed within 24 hours or it dries out. Very complicated, very unique, but also a very, very limited supply. In fact, we don't even really have any ready-to-wear finished goods available from lotus flower. We have a couple of scarves that we can sell that are ready to wear there in the stores. And we offer a jacket for men that is a custom made to order where you try your size on there in the store, but we don't stock it. We can't. It's a special order. It's around $11,000 for that jacket. I think I have a picture of that here. There is the lotus flower. There you see the stalks, the stems. The fiber has to be extracted manually within 2 hours and woven within 24 hours from the time the flower is picked to prevent deterioration. This is actually the jacket on the left and the scarf on the right, and even the scarf that we have in the stores is 1 panel of lotus flower and 1 panel of cashmere silk. These are the things that really represent the Loro Piana excellences, the things that we are involved with from start to finish. I want to quickly talk about sort of the brand's positioning and the brand's lifestyle, and then I'll open it up to questions from you guys. So